British watches are getting scary good. The design of this watch is one of the most interesting I've ever seen. The quality of the components are on another level to other watches I've reviewed, and it features a beautiful Swiss movement that I'm getting hands on with for the first ever time. Hello there, my name's Kieran, welcome to Top Tier Ticker. I hope you're having a good day. Today we'll be taking a look at a British watch brand that I suspect might be a big player in the future. You know, like your studio underdogs, Farers, Anordains, and it's that last brand, Anordain, that actually has a big link to the brand that we're taking a look at today. Anordain is a super popular British micro brand amongst enthusiasts. They're best known for creating beautiful enamel dial watches with very distinctive designs. Not to mention, a lot of the artistic watchmaking is actually being done in-house too. Well, Paulin, the watch brand we're featuring today, is the sister brand of Anordain. Basically like Orient is to Seiko or Tudor is to Rolex. Therefore, you get a lot of that Anordain DNA that makes them so popular. However, on a much cheaper budget. Paulin has sent over this watch for free. I do get to keep it after the review, but as usual, all statements are mine only. Although I'm sure this may be a new name to some of you watching, Paulin was founded over 10 years ago. However, it was just last year in 2023 where the brand was acquired by Anordain. However, the link between these two brands was established way before this acquisition, with the founder of Anordain, Lewis Heath, and the founder of Paulin, Charlotte Paulin, actually being husband and wife. And Anordain has actually done a collaboration with Paulin in the past on the beautiful Neo series, with Anordain then creating the dials for that collaboration. But I think it's fair to say that since the acquisition, Paulin has stepped up their game. They've cleaned up the catalogue, released a lot of new watches, and clearly set out an outline for the future of the brand. And the watch that we are taking a look at today is one of these new releases by Paulin. Now, a lot of brands, they don't want you to know where the components for their watches are made. Paulin, though, they share everything. The dials are made in Germany, the cases and crystals are made in China, the hands are made in India, and the movements, well, in this one anyway, is made in Switzerland. They even tell you the names of the companies making each component. This transparency allows you to do your own research, basically giving you confidence in the production process. But it's the design ethos of Paulin that I think many of you will appreciate the most. They don't create boring watches, that's for sure. They use unusual colours, shapes, and proportions in their designs, but there's still a distinctive character binding each model together. And I think that the watch we're taking a look at today, the Model B Automatic, is the perfect representation of what this exceptionally cool British micro brand offers. Now, when I say this watch is interesting, I don't just mean because it's got a funky dial design. The actual makeup of this watch is unique. How the case is put together is something I've not seen before, and it's these elements that makes the brand so compelling. For example, the case of this watch features 4 holes on the case sides, 2 on each side. These look like an unusual decorative decision, but they actually have a function. You see, the black ring that surrounds the crystal isn't just a printed area for effect. This is a black steel ring that is bolted to the inner case to house the movement. So those holes on the case are where the screws sit to attach the two parts together. Now, I know that some of you will cringe when you hear that it's a piece of acrylic on this watch and not sapphire, but personally, I enjoy the use of acrylic on watches like this. They offer a hue that just can't be achieved with a piece of sapphire glass. Yes, it will scratch, but let's be honest, a tube of poly watch is cheaper than a Subway. Yes, I agree, sapphire is crucial for a tool watch, but an artistic occasional wear piece like this does benefit from acrylic in my opinion. But one of the most interesting decisions that Paulin has made during production is the choice of movement. Inside this watch is a Swiss movement you've likely not experienced or even heard of before. This Model B uses the La Joux-Perret G101. There's 3 versions of this movement and Paulin is using the top grade. This movement comes with beautiful Geneva stripes across the movement and rotor, with genuine heat-blued screws amongst the movement construction. This movement has a high beat rate at 28,800 vibrations per hour and a higher than average power reserve at 68 hours. And this movement does feature hacking seconds and manual winding. It's also a genuine no date movement too, so no ghost date position when setting the time. And an interesting fact, this is the exact same movement that Anordain uses in their automatic models, except those they cost a lot more. This is the most premium movement that I've experienced in a watch under £1,000. Now, this Swiss movement is relatively slim, and thankfully it passes its genetics onto the case thickness. Impressively, we have a 9.9mm thickness on this watch. The tonneau-shaped case measures in at 39mm from side to side, with the lug-to-lug being 44.5mm. This watch does wear slightly larger than these dimensions suggest. That's because of the flat case construction and those super chunky lugs. Speaking of, we have a 20mm millimeter lug width on this watch. Paulin has shipped me the mesh bracelet and a recycled blue fabric strap with this model, but I've had more fun with my own straps on this one. My favourite is this vintage style distressed suede. The case finishing on this watch is quite basic, with the majority being brushed. There is a small bit of polishing to the lugs, but I think they've kept it basic here to avoid overwhelming the design. I will say though, the finishing is flawless and done to a high standard. But let's be honest, it's the design that you're buying here. They aren't trying to be the next big sports watch. These are truly original. It's not mass appealing, it's made for true enthusiasts. Only a proper watch nerd would sit here and appreciate how every even hour has a number, with the odd numbers featuring shapes, and the quarters specifically featuring squares. Only a watch nut smiles when they see the hour marker perfectly line up with the cutout inside of the hour hand. Not to mention how the shapes of those hands match up with the ones used on the indexes. Only somebody that's a bit insane about watches, like the majority of us, would appreciate these unusual details. I personally like the Paulin branding below the 5 and the 7 markers, keeping that central dial nice and clean. And what an unusual colour combination this model has. A matte brown dial surface, yellow hour markers with white lines inside, then a random blue seconds hand, because why the hell not? By the way, you can also get this model in 2 other colourways that are equally as interesting. Check out the yellow if you want something that's super vibrant. But let's talk about price, because, well, this isn't a cheap watch. This Model B automatic comes in at £750, which is around $950. That does include free shipping, but factor in any relevant import taxes. You also have to pay VAT if you live in the UK. For a relatively small brand, that is expensive, but is it worth it? Well, it honestly depends which way you look at it. If you compare it with your mass-produced Hamiltons or Seikos of the world, then probably not. But if you compare it with something like a Nanordain or a Chrono Tokyo, then it absolutely is. It depends on how much you value truly original design and artistic watchmaking. The case on this watch is unique with that bi-colour two-piece construction. The movement in this watch is a premium Swiss automatic with a fantastic power reserve that looks absolutely beautiful through the display back. The dial design and construction is something you won't find elsewhere with its bespoke typeface. But for nearly £1,000, there are some things that I think this watch could improve on. I was disappointed with how flat the dial is. The finish to the dial is completely matte, and I think it's lacking a splash of detail, especially when you consider how much character Nanordain dials deliver. You'd expect them to somewhat carry that ethos over to Paulin too. Either give me a dial finish or just add a bit of depth. I think that would really bring this design to life even more. Now, the supplied mesh strap, well, it's absolutely massive. It almost wraps back around under the watch when on my wrist. I don't know who this strap is made for, but it's definitely not for slightly below average wrists like mine. So this mesh bracelet won't fit you if you have a wrist below 6.5 inches, which is a shame given that it's a good quality mesh. However, if this Model B is a little bit out of your budget, I highly recommend you checking out the rest of the Paulin catalogue. You can get this exact Model B with a Swiss quartz movement for half its price, and one of my favourites is the Neo B with its unbelievably good looking mustard tone dial powered by an automatic Seiko. I honestly think this brand doesn't have a bad looking watch, and I don't say that often, trust me. And that's exactly why I believe this brand will be a big player in the future. But if you are looking for a more premium addition to your collection, and you enjoy wearing something that isn't so typical, this Model B automatic certainly delivers that with its funky design and fantastic movement. Go and check out the Paulin catalogue linked below. I think you'll find something that you like. If you haven't already, like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one, guys. Bye for now.